Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the system is slightly slower. We'll have to go with it. Okay. So cams are devices which are used to operate valves. Valves are operated by using cams. Fine. So valves have to open at specific points. So for example, inlet valve has to exactly open when the piston is almost at the top dead center. Okay, and that too at the beginning of the suction stroke. So when the inlet valve opens, the air will be sucked in. Air will be sucked in by the vacuum which is created by downward movement of piston. Fine. And then after the suction stroke, that valve has to close up. It has to close. Fine. It should remain open while the piston is moving down. So how is this obtained? How is this motion obtained? Because we all know in 4-stroke engine, there are 2 revolutions of the shaft. There are 2 revolutions of the crankshaft, and in 2 revolutions of the crankshaft, the valve has to open only once. Okay, the valve has to open only once. So how do they manage? Anyone? It's another adjustment we have to do today. I'll be using Paint for explaining stuff. Okay. Okay. Ready? Oh, fine. One more problem. Stylus not detected. Give me a minute. Huh? Yeah, okay, everything's ready. Fine. So, oh my god, it's very slow. Come on. Yeah. Fine. So, yeah. So, anyone knows how to explain? Anyone would like to try to explain? See, the crankshaft has to rotate for 2 rotations, and the valve has to open only once during the 2 rotations. How is this obtained? Anyone?
With the incorporation of cams, sir.
Yeah, of course, by the incorporation of cam. But cam is operated by revolving. The cam will be revolving, right? And the revolution has to be such that for 2 revolutions of the crankshaft, our cam has to rotate only once. Now the paint is
Yes.
yeah. No, come on, yeah. It's very problematic when we shift the screens. Stylus started working, now the paint is stuck. Give me a minute, huh? Durgesh sir? Durgesh sir, थोड़ा पेंट स्टक हो गया, पेंट नहीं आ रहा. Okay. Okay, finally we are ready. Okay, so yeah, so we all know the piston, it keeps moving inside like this. Fine. So this one is a crankshaft. Crankshaft. Okay. So for two revolutions of the crankshaft completes one cycle. Fine. Two revolutions of the crankshaft complete one cycle, and during one cycle, our valve must open only once. Must open only once. Okay. So how is this? How is this done? How is this arrangement done? Anyone?
By cam design.
So by cam design, no? You see, cams will be located, let us say, somewhere. Actually, what we do is we use another shaft called as cam shaft. This one is called
Cam.
yeah, cam shaft, and the cam shaft will be double in size. The cam shaft will be double in size. That means for two revolutions of the crankshaft, cam shaft will make only one revolution. Are you getting? For two revolutions of the camshaft will make only one revolution, and this camshaft is used to operate our cams. Camshaft is used to operate the cams. Fine. So cams are not located on the crankshaft. Cams are located on the camshaft, which is different from the crankshaft, and the relation between diameters is 2 times of the diameter. If this diameter is d, okay, if let us say if the diameter of the crankshaft is d, then diameter of the camshaft will be 2 times of d. Will be 2 times of d. Okay. Okay. Anyway, this was not a discussion which is closely related to the subject. I was just trying to engage you while I was arranging everything else. Anyway, so let's take our studies forward. Fine. So whenever we want one non-uniform kind of motion, what to say, the desired kind of motion to obtain. Whenever we want some kind of desired motion to happen, that is where we use the caps. Fine. So now, what do I mean by desired motion? What do I mean by desired motion? So if you take up mechanisms, while the crank is rotating, it will move to and fro. Now, this motion is going to be oscillating motion. Most of the times, this will be SHM. Most of the times, this will be SHM. But suppose we want motion which should happen with, let us say, constant velocity. We want the motion to happen with constant velocity. Fine. Or let us say we want the motion to happen with constant acceleration. Or no, we want it to follow SHM, that is simple harmonic motion. Simple harmonic, fine, motion. Or if you want still better, let us say we want it to move with cycloidal motion. So these are the different kinds of motion. And these kind of motion, they are very difficult to obtain using mechanisms. Fine. Using mechanisms, this kind of motion is very difficult to obtain. These kind of motions are very difficult to obtain, and this is where cams come to our help. Fine. So what cams do is they have certain cross section. Let us say they have some cross section. So in this case, I'm taking a simple wedge. So this is a straight line, a wedge made up of a straight line. Fine. And let us say I'm having a roller. Let us say I'm having a roller which is in contact with the wedge, and the shaft of this roller, is constrained to move only in one particular direction. So the shaft can only move in upward and downward direction. So when the wedge moves sideways, what will happen? The cam will move up and down. Now, because this is a straight line motion, so what happens? If the velocity of the wedge is v, what will be the velocity of the cam? Anyone? This angle here is theta. If the velocity of the wedge is v, what will be the velocity of cam? First, tell me whether if the wedge is moving with constant velocity, will the velocity of the cam be constant or variable? Will it be constant? Yes. Will it be constant? If the velocity of the
Yes,
wedge is
sir.
constant, will the velocity of the cam be constant too? Will it be? Yes, of course, because this is a straight line. So this velocity will also be constant, but it will be in some ratio. If the angle is 45 degrees, if angle theta is 45 degrees, then the velocity of the wedge and the velocity of the follower, will be constant, will be equal. But as the angle changes, what will happen? The velocity will be varying. But of course, if this velocity is constant, then definitely this velocity will also be constant. Fine. So this wedge in this particular situation, is working like a cam. It is working like a cam. Fine. So let us say instead of using a straight line, if I'm using a shape like this, fine. If I'm using a shape like this, then depending on the shape, I can obtain any variation in the velocity of the follower. This one is called follower. Fine. So this is my follower. Whatever kind of motion I want in the follower, I can obtain just by varying the cross section of this wedge. Fine. And when we are using this kind of situation to get different velocity, different kind of motion, you can say. So this particular wedge, this is called as a cam. Now here you can see that the wedge is moving in horizontal direction, and the follower is moving in vertical direction. Now this kind of motion is very rare. We will not be needing this kind of motion. So most commonly, what the kind of motion that we'll need will be wherein one of the part will be rotating. And another part, let us say, it has to move up and down. Fine. So this is the usual kind of motion required. So the advantage with this is that because this is a revolution, we don't have to bring it back. Fine. And many of the when we can obtain the revolution motion from a lot of easily available materials. Like we can use electric motors, we can use engines, we can use turbines. Fine. So all these kind of machines, they provide us torque in the form of rotational motion. Fine. And this rotational motion we want to use to operate our cam, operate our cam and follower, operate our cam and follower. So this is the usual kind of motion that we'll be using. Now there are various different kinds of cams available. Various different kinds of cams are available. So let us take a look at them. Fine. Okay, so this is where it all begins. So you can see this is the first kind of cam that I explained. Here we have a wedge kind of cam, and here there is another wedge shape, but here the cross section is slightly different. Here the cross section is slightly different, and the kind of motion we obtain in the follower will also be different. This is again a plate kind of cam. Then radial cam. So I told you radial cams are more common because we get a revolute motion, which is cyclic in nature, and we can continuously operate the follower by using the radial cam. Fine. And we have spiral cams. Spiral cams are like this. So we'll be putting holes. We'll be putting a groove in a plate, in a rotating plate, and based on what is the shape of this groove, we can obtain whatever kind of motion we want. Then here we have cylindrical or barrel cams. So barrel cams are like this. Of course, this one is also, the cam here is also revolute, but there will be a groove on the cylindrical cam. There will be a groove on the cylindrical cam. Inside that groove, we will have a roller. That roller is in turn attached with an oscillator. Fine. So this is called as a cylinder cam or a barrel cam or a drum cam. So all these terms are pointing us towards the same thing. Fine. Now the follower may have an oscillating kind of motion wherein the angle is changing, or here in this case, the right side, you can see the follower is moving to and fro, left and right. Even here in the below diagram also, you can see the follower is moving left and right. So depending on what kind of motion we want, we can use this, right? So now these upper four diagrams, they are showing a groove. Now the advantage with groove is that the follower, it gets completely constrained. It cannot move in any other possible direction. No other direction is possible. No other movement is possible. Whereas we can go with open this one like this. Okay, so the cross section will be present on the cylindrical surface, but on the other side we will not have the constraint. Fine. So these kind of follower and cams, they need to be constrained using an external force. So we can either go with gravity. The gravity may result in falling of the follower down and maintaining the contact. Or if the cam is rotating very, very fast, then there are chances that if the acceleration created by the cam, if it is higher than the gravity, then the contact will break. So in such cases, we will have to go for an external spring or some other apparatus. Fine. So the spring has to constantly push our follower down to maintain the contact. Okay. Then here we have another kind of cam. These are called conjugate or double disc cams. Fine. So the follower will have two rollers, and the angle, of course, will be constant for the follower. So this is a single link carrying two rollers at the ends, and these two rollers will make contact with a different plate. There are two plates or two discs you can see here, and one disc will operate one side of the roller. The other disc will operate the other side. Fine. So the two plates, they have to be conjugate. They have to be very, very carefully designed. Fine. Because the angle of the follower cannot change. There are chances that if you don't design this conjugate cam properly, the follower will break out. The follower will break. Fine. So we have to design this very, very carefully. So in the upper two diagrams, you can see the follower is undergoing oscillating motion. Angle is changing here. And below here in this one, the follower is moving up and down. The follower is moving up and down. So all these are the examples of conjugate or double disc cams. Then we have globoidal cams. Globoidal cams, you can see they are slightly different in nature. In the cylindrical cams, we had a flat surface. The cam was cylindrical in shape, and of course there was a groove in it. Whereas here, we have the cams. No, their shape is not exactly cylindrical. Fine. So the cross section here is circular. We have to take a circular profile and revolve it about the axis of the cam to get this shape. Fine. And of course, on the surface, we will have a groove. In the groove, there will be a roller, which is fitted, and that roller will control the oscillation of our follower. Okay, so we can have convex cam, which is bulging on the outside, or we can have convex. You can see on the right side, it is bulging on the inside. So it is forming a cave on the inside. That's why it is called as a concave. Whereas this is vexing on the outside, hence it is convex. Then we have spherical cams, which are somewhat like this. We have a spherical cam fitted with a shaft, rotating, repair. Okay, so this is called a spherical cam. It's rotating about a shaft. It's fixed with a shaft, and follower is making contact with the spherical shaft, and it will be oscillating about this point. Fine. So of course, to maintain the contact, we'll be using a spring, and that is very, very necessary. Fine. So when a spring is used to constrain the constrain the links properly, what kind of joint is it? What kind of constraint is it called? You have learned this in the first chapter. Anyone can answer this? Whenever you are using a spring or an external force to completely constrain the mechanism, what kind of force closed? It is called as force closed pair or force closed joint. Fine. Sometimes it is also called as successfully constrained joint. It is also called as successfully constrained joint. Fine. So these are all the different kinds of cams. Fine. So next we'll also have to study the different kinds of followers. Fine. Types of followers. So followers may be knife edge follower. There may be a roller follower. There may be a mushroom or flat faced follower. There may be a spherical faced follower. Diagrams for these I have not added. I'll just add it as and when I find it. Okay. Some students who are interested, they can just contact me if you want to help in preparation of notes, and I'll share these files to you. Okay. So these are the different kinds of followers. Next, we should understand the terms used with the followers. We should understand the terms that we'll be using with the followers. Okay. So there will be a revolving base part. Which controls the roller which is in contact. Fine. So the part which is moving up and down, that is called as a follower. The part which is moving up and down, it's called a follower. And the part which is rotating with uniform velocity, speed or uniform velocity, that is called as the cam. Fine. So a cam and follower together give us a mechanism. Now the cam has to carry the profile. The cam should have the profile required to create whatever kind of motion we desire to obtain. Fine. So what kind of motions exist? We have constant velocity, constant acceleration. We have SHM, that is simple harmonic motion, or we have cycloidal. Fine. Apart from this, if you want any other kind of motion also, it's possible for us to get. Fine. Whatever kind of motion you want, it is possible. So we just have to create the profile, the cam profile required, and with that profile, we have to manufacture or fabricate our cam and assemble this mechanism in properly, and we will get that kind of motion available. Fine. Next, you see the surface of the cam itself is called as the cam profile. The surface of the cam itself is called as the cam profile. and the circle, the minimum, the smallest circle possible that touches the cam profile, that is called as the base circle. The smallest possible circle that touches the cam profile, that is called as the base circle. Okay. And if you take the roller, in a position such that it touches the base circle, then the circle which is passing through the center of roller, that circle is called as the prime circle. That circle is called prime circle. Okay. Now we will get cam profile by starting from the base circle. We will reach some maximum height, and we will maintain the same height for some time. Fine. So this time for which we maintain the same height, that period is called dwell period. This period is called dwell period. So from this point to this point, the dwell is at the highest position. Then from this point to this point, the dwell is at the lowest position. Okay. Then we also have to create the path traced by the center of roller. So the path traced by center of roller is called as a pitch curve. Path traced by center of roller is called as the pitch curve. Okay, pitch curve. And the maximum displacement undergone by the follower, that is called as the follower travel or follower lift or the maximum lift. Different terms are used in different books. Fine. So you should be aware of all this. Then we have something called as the pressure angle. So the pressure angle is the angle between normal at the point of contact, normal to the surface at the point of contact, and the line passing through the center. Fine. That is called as the pressure angle. Fine. So pressure angle is very important quantity. We have to maintain the pressure angle as low as possible. In none of the cases it should cross 45 degrees. Pressure angle should never cross 45 degrees. Fine. Because if it crosses 45 degrees, there are chance that your cam follower mechanism will get locked. Fine. So always the pressure angle should be maintained below 45 degrees. So here you can see some notations are given. Phi is the notation used for rotary angle of the cam measured from the beginning of the motion event. Beta is the range of rotary angle corresponding to motion event. H is taken as the stroke of the motion. Fine. So H is the height. Fine. So what we call here as the follower travel, that is denoted by H. Then S is the displacement of follower from the minimum position. Fine. So at different revolutions, as the cam rotates, S is going to vary. But H is the maximum displacement undergone by the follower. Then we have V. V is denoted as V is the notation used for velocity of the follower, and A is of course the notation used for acceleration of the follower. Fine. So we have some definitions here. Trace point. So trace point is a reference point on the follower to trace the cam profile. Fine. So trace point should define the kind of motion we want. Fine. Whatever kind of motion you want, whether you want constant velocity, constant acceleration, or constant something else, constant jerk or constant snap, or SHM or cycloidal. So trace point we have to use to get that kind of motion, and then using the pitch curve, that the motion, the path taken by the trace point is called as a pitch curve, and using this pitch curve we have to generate the cam profile. Fine. So that's what is our next definition. Pitch curve, the curve drawn by trace point, assuming that the cam is fixed. Fine. So actually what happens is the cam will rotate, forever remain stationary. But when we are drawing, what we will do, when we are drawing the cam profile, what we will do is, we will assume that the cam is stationary and the follower itself is moving all around it. Okay. So that is the definition of pitch curve as well around here. So you can see the curve drawn by trace point, assuming that the cam is fixed and the trace point it is revolving around the cam. Fine. So in this chapter, we will also have to do some drawings using the geometric instruments. Fine. Using proper geometric instruments, we will have to create the cam profiles. So kind of motion required will be given to us, and the kind of follower, the kind of cam will also be given to us. We will have to draw the cam profile. We'll have to draw the cam profile. So first we will be doing the pitch curve. First, we will always draw the pitch curve, and then using the pitch curve, we will obtain the profile of the cam. We will obtain the profile of the cam. Next, the pressure angle, I've already told about it. The definition is given. I'll share these notes with you so that you can, go through it. Fine. Then the base circle, of course, the smallest circle tangent to the cam profile, that is that. Then the pitch point, it is a point on the pitch curve at which pressure angle is maximum. Fine. So at all the points, we have to do an analysis of the pressure angle, how the pressure angle is changing as the cam is rotating. So pitch point is the point where the pressure angle is maximum. Okay. Then pitch circle, it is a circle passing through the pitch point, concentric with the base circle. Then prime circle. Prime circle is the smallest circle drawn tangent to the pitch curve, and this is also known as the prime circle. Okay. Then angle of ascent, angle of dwell, angle of descent. Fine. So these things are very, very clear. Ascent means going up. Ascent means going up. So the angle of rotation of cam, the angle of rotation for cam, for which angle of rotation for the cam in which follower rises up. Follower rises up. This is called angle of ascent. Fine. What is angle of dwell? Angle of rotation of the cam for which follower doesn't move. Fine. So the cam will be rotating, but follower will not move. Follower will not move. So that angle by which cam rotates, wherein the follower remains constant at same position, that is called angle of dwell. And angle of descent. Descent means coming down. Fine. Descent means coming down. So the angle of rotation of the cam for which follower, what happens? Follower comes down. So what do we call lowers to the lowers from the highest, from the highest position to the lowest. This is angle of descent. Fine. Then angle of action. Angle of action is the sum of all these angles. The sum of all the above angles. Okay. The sum of all these angles is the this one, angle of action. Now, angle of action doesn't include the angle when follower remains at lowest possible position. Lowest possible position. Fine. The angle for which follower remains in lowest position is not a part of it. Okay. So the rotation of the cam for which follower remains in the lowest possible position, that is not included here. Fine. So as soon as the roller, as soon as the follower starts motion, as soon as it leaves contact with the base circle, as soon as follower leaves contact with the base circle, and from starting from that angle to the point when it touches back the base circle. Fine. When the follower leaves the base circle, that's when we start taking the angle, and when it touches the base circle back, that is the last angle. So the sum of all these angles will give us the angle of action. Fine. Then derivatives of the follower motion, derivatives of the follower motion. So this analysis will help us. This is what to say. These equations will help us analyze the motion of follower, the motion of follower. Okay, so we all know yes. What is yes? What is yes? Yes is displacement. Yes is displacement. So what we have to do when we want to analyze, the displacement, we have to get a function. We have to get a function in terms of theta. What is theta? What is theta here?
Angular displacement.
Angular displacement of cam. Theta is angular displacement of cam. Whereas yes, what is yes? Yes, you can see it is displacement of follower. Yes is the displacement of follower. So the first thing we have to obtain is a relation between displacement of follower and the rotation of the cam. We have to obtain a relation between displacement of the follower and rotation of the cam. So this relation we have to obtain first. Then when we differentiate it once, we will end up with ds by d theta. Fine. So we will end up getting what is that? So let me write it here. There are some mistakes over here. So I already told you, yes, we should obtain in terms of theta. Fine. Yes, we should obtain in terms of theta. Then when we want to find velocity, velocity is ds by dt, isn't it? Velocity is ds by dt. So this is velocity of follower. Velocity of follower. So now we need to get this. We need to get a relation for this velocity in terms of omega. What is omega? Omega is angular velocity of cam. Angular velocity of cam. So now this angular velocity of the cam will be constant. Angular velocity of the cam will be constant. So if you know the angular velocity of cam, you should be able to find the velocity of the follower. So how to get this? Let us take equation number 1 and differentiate. So differentiate equation 1 with respect to t, the time. Fine. So what do we get? We get ds by dt, and that's equal to s dash of theta. Now here we are differentiating with respect to time. But here the variable is theta. So what we have to do here? Chain rule we have to apply. So d theta by dt we have to take. So we will get a function in terms of theta. And what is d theta by dt?
Omega.
D theta by dt is, of course, omega. Fine. So velocity will be equal to this. Okay. So this is how we will do analysis. Fine. Next, when we want to find acceleration, how to find acceleration? Acceleration is dv by dt. So we have to take the equation number 2. And again differentiate this. Fine. We have to take equation 2 and differentiate it. So acceleration equals dv by dt. So differentiate this, we get yes double dash we will get. Fine. Before yes double dash, actually omega is constant, right? So it will come out and we will get yes double dash and we will get theta. And once again we will have to take the chain rule. Fine. So we will get omega square times s double dash of theta. S double dash of theta. Fine. So this is the formula for acceleration. This is the formula for acceleration. So you can go on to do, you can go on continue doing this. Fine. What is the rate of change of acceleration? What is the rate of change of acceleration? Yes. Rate of change of acceleration is called as jerk. It is called as jerk. Fine. So knowing the pattern, we will get omega cube. We will get omega cube and yes, triple dash of theta. Yes, triple dash of theta. And what is the rate of change of jerk? What is the rate of change of jerk? That is snap. Rate of change of jerk is snap. Fine. So knowing from this, we will get omega power 4 and yes, 4 times and theta. Fine. So this is how we can do analysis. This is how we can do analysis. Fine. So if you know the velocity of the cam, we will be able to find the velocity, acceleration, jerk, and snap of the follower. Fine. So these kind of things are there. So in the next class, we will be taking up different motions. Fine. So we will take constant velocity, all these motions that I mentioned here. No, I mentioned, where did I mention? Yeah, it's, yeah. Fine. So all these motions we will take up in next class. So constant velocity, constant acceleration, then SHM, cycloidal. We will take all these motions and we will have to do analysis on this. We will have to do analysis on this. So for example, in constant velocity, what will be the acceleration at the ends? If you want constant velocity, the velocity will be starting at velocity 0. The velocity will remain constant, right? Velocity will remain constant. So what we will get here, this is how we will get cam profile. This is the cam profile. Okay. So the cam profile will consist of a straight line. Cam profile will consist of a straight line. Okay. Then velocity diagram, when you want to draw the velocity diagram, how it will be? Velocity diagram, how it will be? On the y-axis, we will have velocity. On the x-axis, let us say we have theta. Then how the velocity diagram will be? What will be the shape of velocity diagram? At the beginning, suddenly, all of a sudden, it will take the constant velocity, and then velocity will remain constant. Velocity will remain constant throughout the motion of the cam. And at the end, suddenly the velocity will again come back to 0. Suddenly the velocity will again come back to 0. Fine. Now next, let us see what happens to acceleration. Let us see what happens to acceleration. Fine. So here in the acceleration, what happens? So again, in y-axis we are taking acceleration, how the acceleration changes, and along the x-axis we are taking theta. So here at this instant, how much is the acceleration? How much is the acceleration? Here at the beginning, initial velocity is 0, and here the final velocity is v. And what is the time taken for this change? The time taken for this change from 0 to v is how much? 0. This is happening in a very, very small time. It's happening in a very, very small time. So theoretically speaking, we can assume that the time taken is 0. And in this 0 time, the velocity is increasing from 0, from rest to the maximum velocity. It is taking 0 time. So using the formula for acceleration, we can see final velocity minus initial velocity by time. So final velocity is v, initial velocity 0, time taken is 0. So we end up with v by 0. What is v by 0?
Infinite. Parallel.
Yeah, anything by 0 is infinite. So the amount of acceleration that we are getting here is infinite. That is plus infinite. Fine. and throughout this there is no acceleration. Fine. At the beginning there is infinite acceleration. During the rise the acceleration is 0 because velocity is constant throughout, and at the end again we will get minus infinity. Acceleration will be minus infinity. Fine. So here we can see that the accelerations taking place are infinite. Accelerations taking place are infinite. And we know the Newton's second law. What is the second law of motion? Second law of
Rate
motion.
of change of
Yes, rate of force is directly
change of momentum.
yeah, force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. So change in momentum by time. So yeah, it's proportional. Fine. So actually it's equal to, force is equal to change in momentum by time. So what is momentum? Momentum is m into v, that is
Mass
final
into
momentum,
velocity.
mass into velocity. So mass into final velocity is final momentum, mass into initial velocity is initial momentum divided by time. Mass, if we take constant common, we will get this, and this is the formula for acceleration. This is the formula for acceleration. So mass into acceleration, right? So if the acceleration is infinite, what will happen to the force? How much inertia force will be acting? Inertia force,
Infinite.
yeah, inertia force, we'll also have the same formula. Inertia force is equal to mass into acceleration. So if the acceleration is infinite, mass into infinity, so we will get infinite force. And this infinite force is very, very dangerous. Infinite force is very, very dangerous. Fine. So this is just one example of analysis of the motion I have taken. So in the next class we will take up the other motions, all of them one by one. We'll take up constant acceleration, SHM, cycloidal, and we will compare them and see which one is better. What are the problems in one kind of profile? What are the advantages if in another kind of profile, and all these things we will do in the next class. So only 10 minutes are left. If you have any doubts, I'll just clear them. You can ask. Any doubts with the today's class? So this is what I was talking about. Fine. So this is constant velocity, displacement, velocity, acceleration. Then constant acceleration. Here you can see the velocity is in the form of pyramid. Acceleration will be, like this. And suddenly the acceleration will become a constant in a small time, very, very small time. The acceleration becomes constant, and then it remains constant because the acceleration is constant. It remains constant. Then again, it suddenly undergoes a change. Then it decelerates. Then it undergoes deceleration. And this is simple harmonic motion. Similarly, we'll have cycloidal and all other things. Fine. So we'll study that. We'll study all these in the next class. Any doubts with the today's class?
So CAM is operated by mechanical means.
CAM is operated by mechanical means. Of course, it is. We need to have a source of torque, right? We need to have a
Yes, sir.
source of torque, and that's what I was telling when I mentioned motor and other stuff. Fine, I wrote somewhere now. Motor, engine, torque. I wrote that somewhere, right? Here. Fine. So these are the sources. So we can have an electric motor, we can have an engine using a fuel, we can have a turbine. So motion or torque from these devices, they are used to run the CAM. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other doubts? In fact, if you go to our thermal lab, when you visit physically, of course, once the college reopens physically, in the thermal lab, is this lab over for you, or is it there in this semester? I don't know the name of the lab. Maybe it's an advanced thermodynamics lab or something, ATD lab or something it is called. Fine. So in that lab, you have the cut section. You have a physical model which shows the cut section. Fine. So a cut section is there in the lab, and through the cut section, you can actually see the insides. You can see the insides. Fine. So if possible, I'll just make a video on that, and I'll try to explain to you how the cams operate and all. So crankshaft will be separate, and with the crankshaft, on the crankshaft we'll be loading a gear, and that gear is attached to another gear that is called as a camshaft. That will be mounted on the camshaft. Fine. So if the radius of the crankshaft is r, radius of the camshaft will be 2 times r. Fine. So when the crankshaft undergoes 2 revolutions, this one will just undergo 1 revolution. And this camshaft is used for cams. Fine. So on this shaft we'll be mounting our cams. Fine. And these cams, when they rotate, they will open and close the valves. If you see the physical apparatus, we will clearly understand how that operates. Okay.
Sir, are these shaft act as gear? Means they have teeth, sir.
You see, shaft is just a cylindrical part. Fine. So on the shaft is like this. On the shaft, we will mount gears, and the gear will carry the teeth. Are you getting it? So the gears are mounted on the shaft. So this is the shaft, and this is a gear. So the teeth will be present on the gear, not on the shaft. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And our cams, will be mounted here on this. Fine, on the same shaft. So this is one cam. Let us say it is at this angle. The other cam, maybe it will be at another angle. Fine. So this may be used for inlet valve. This may be used to operate inlet valve. This may be used to operate outlet valve. Are you getting it? So the angle is different. Here this is the angle, here this is the angle. So you can see there is a small angle difference, right? So when this valve closes, then the other valve should open, isn't it? When the outlet valve closes, that is when the inlet valve should open. Fine. And for one complete stroke, for 2 complete strokes actually, both the valves should remain closed. So this is how the apparatus will be. Okay. So the students who are interested in making the CAD models, they can take up this challenge, right? So you can use whatever software you are comfortable with. You can go with SolidWorks or Inventor, or Onshape is available. Educational version is for free. So whatever software you want to use, you can use it, and you just have to model this geometrically. You just have to model using Part Studio. You have to model all the parts, and you have to assemble them. You have to assemble all the parts together, such that whenever we move the crankshaft, all the other parts should move automatically. Of course, the thermal lab will be of great help to us. We have the physical model present over there. We can go there, take a look at how what it looks like. If required, we can also take measurements from this. Some rough measurements we can take from this, and use these measurements to make the model, the 3D model, and assemble them properly. Fine. So this will not only give you a good idea about kinematics, how the different how the different parts are getting assembled, how they are interconnected, how they are functioning, but also it will give you a good experience of using CAD software to make the machinery. Fine. So those who are interested can contact me after the class. When all your classes are over in the evening, you can contact me, and I'll guide you about how to go around doing this. Fine. So any other doubts regarding today's class? If you have no more doubts, I'll just stop it. So the